Orange and Hazelnut Entremet. I created this dessert while preparing for a competition between several culinary schools. It received a lot of positive feedback from chefs, and it eventually became the cake that led to me representing Le Cordon Bleu Melbourne. The chocolate flavor is very balanced, it complements the nuttiness of the hazelnut, and the orange works as a bright binding element, adding just enough citrus acidity. With the right amount of sweetness and 5 different textures, this cake is absolutely worth the time you spend making it. You will find the full recipe in the description, and because I prefer a rational approach, the recipe is written for 2 cakes. It's easy to make a bigger batch, and it takes the same amount of time as making one, so why not make 2? You can even use the first one as a trial for glazing if you are still learning. And because the recipe includes 2 separate prepared double inserts, you can easily use them in a different combination, with a different main mousse or even inside a tart. You will need to prepare the Hazelnut Dacquoise first. The link to the video tutorial is on your screen now and in the description. Watch it for full details, but here is a quick recap. Toast the hazelnuts and let them cool completely. Set aside a few whole nuts for the decoration. Place the remaining nuts in the food processor with icing sugar, cornstarch and a pinch of salt. Using a cornstarch, make this a gluten-free sponge, or you can replace it with a plain flour if preferred. Blitz until the nuts become fine crumbs. Prepare meringue with the egg whites, pinch of cream of tartar and superfine sugar. You can use granulated sugar, but the texture will be slightly less delicate, as meringue made with a regular sugar has less volume and bakes less evenly. Just semi-whip meringue so it would be easy to combine the nuts. Now combine the nut mixture in a mixing bowl. Mix with the meringue in a few additions. Pipe 2 15cm discs using a 10mm nozzle. Use a cake ring or a silicone mold, as I do. This results in a fewer offcuts and faster assembly, since the next layer will be added directly on top of the sponge. There is no need to remove the sponge from the mold, and it's easier to spread the following layer evenly inside the mold. Bake at 160 degrees Celsius or 320 degrees Fahrenheit in a fan-forced oven for approximately 15 minutes, until the top is golden and spring backs when pressed. Now let's make the crunchy layer for the entremet. Having different textures in a cake always elevates the whole experience, and this layer brings that contrast. It's based on the cocoa nibs, which are dried, crushed pieces of cocoa beans with a bitter, intense chocolate flavor. Sometimes the nibs are tiny, and sometimes, like the ones I have today, they are a bit larger. I'm going to blitz them into finer pieces so I can spread the mixture evenly over the sponge. The other ingredients are hazelnut praline. Anything from a classic 50% ratio to a low sugar version with around 70% nuts works well. You can even use 100% hazelnut paste if you want the cake to be less sweet, but because this recipe is already balanced, I recommend making it as written before experimenting with the lower sweetness options. Then we add melted white chocolate, a little bit of cocoa butter just to give the firmness, and a lime zest for a bright floral note. The method is simple. Melt chocolate and cocoa butter, mix in the rest of the ingredients, spread it over the sponge layer and freeze it before assembling. The next step is orange jelly, and I'm going to use orange puree, orange segments, passion fruit puree, mixture of corn flour and sugar, and gelatin mass. As for the purees, you can use a professional puree or you can make your own puree at home. So basically what I did is segmented the orange and put the orange segments and the juice from the orange and blitz with a stick blender. That's your orange puree. And for passion fruit puree, I've got the frozen pulp. I've just defrosted and removed seeds. As for the method, combine all of the purees and orange segments in a saucepan, add the mixture of corn flour and sugar and bring it to a boil. Boil for 1 minute to cook the cornstarch, and you will need to mix it constantly. Then add the gelatin mass and divide it between 2 silicone molds. And put it in the freezer until it's firm enough to add the next layer. The next step is orange cremeux, and let's go through the ingredients. Orange puree and passion fruit puree, similar to the previous recipe, sugar and egg yolks room temperature, orange zest and gelatin mass. Combine the purees in a pot with sugar, egg yolks and zest. Warm up the puree and then gradually add to the egg yolks. Now return this mixture back to the pot. Cook to 82 degrees Celsius as per on Glaze or 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove from the heat and add the gelatin mass. Cool to 45 degrees Celsius or 113 degrees Fahrenheit and add butter. Emulsify with a stick blender and pour on top of the orange jelly layer. Then freeze it completely before final assembly. Hazelnut mousse recipe, and let's start with the ingredients. You will need a full cream, honey or glucose syrup, platinum gelatin and cold water to make a gelatin mass. This amount of gelatin is enough to hold the mousse structure even if you are using a non-professional couverture chocolate, which usually contains more cocoa butter that helps with the stability. If you are using a professional chocolate, you can slightly reduce the gelatin mass. Next is a 100% hazelnut paste or a lower sugar hazelnut praline I've shared before. The link is on your screen and in the description. A combination of milk and dark chocolate gives a balanced chocolate flavor, not too creamy, not too dark. And finally, a heavy cream, around 35% fat, and it should be cold. Now the method. Bloom the gelatin and cold water and set it aside. Meanwhile, semi-whip the cold cream and keep it in the fridge. Heat the milk and honey to a simmer, about 80 degrees Celsius or 176 degrees Fahrenheit. Add the gelatin and mix to dissolve. Add the hazelnut paste to your chocolate and pour the hot mixture over the hazelnut and chocolate. Then blitz with a stick blender until smooth. Cool to 28 degrees Celsius or 82 degrees Fahrenheit. After adding milk and blitzing, the temperature of my mixture is 32 degrees, so it will take maybe 5 minutes in the fridge to cool it down a bit lower. Then fold in the whipped cream in several editions. To assemble the cake with insert, pipe or pour about 1 cm of the hazelnut mousse into your main silicone mold. Unmold and place the jelly Cremeux double insert. Add more mousse, approximately another 5 mm. And that's okay if you accidentally added more, because you would be able to push with the next insert. And place the second double insert. Make sure that the crunch layer stays at the base. So ideally you will end up with a perfect layering with your silicone mold and the bottom layer of the sponge. Now add just enough mousse to cover the gap. For this particular mold would be more neat if I use the piping bag. Freeze for at least 7 hours or overnight. Let's prepare the mirror glaze. I'm going to use next ingredients: sugar, water and glucose syrup. That's my group number 1. Then I'm going to add cold condensed milk, then gelatin powder and water to bloom the gelatin, and then the hot mixture will go on top of the white chocolate, and I'm going to use food coloring, blitz it with a stick blender, and then I will use a rack to put my mousse cake and glaze the cake. So hydrate the powdered gelatin in cold water and set it aside to bloom. In small saucepan, combine the glucose, water and sugar and bring the mixture to 103 degrees Celsius or 217 degrees Fahrenheit. Remove from the heat and add the cold sweetened condensed milk. Cold because we need to cool down the syrup before adding gelatin. Add gelatin and stir until fully dissolved. Pour the hot syrup over the white chocolate in a jug, blend with a stick blender, keeping the blade fully submerged to avoid air bubbles. Now add orange food coloring and blend again until the color is fully incorporated and the glaze is smooth. I'm going to use actually orange and crimson coloring to get more brighter orange, like a blood orange color. Let the glaze cool to about 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Then unmold frozen cake and pour the glaze. Let it stand for a few minutes so the excess glaze can drip off. Transfer the cake to the fridge and let it defrost for at least 6 hours. Do not cover it with a container, otherwise condensation will form between the cake and the glaze, making the finish look thinner and uneven. Keep in mind that this glaze is white chocolate based. When poured over the milk or dark chocolate mousse, it will never appear very bright, but that softer tone actually looks more natural. And don't forget that you can freeze any mirror glaze leftovers and reuse it again. The decoration for this cake is going to be minimalistic, so I'm going to use some candied orange peel, toasted hazelnut skin, and some orange segment jellies. You can use the fresh orange segments, but I think the jelly looks just more interesting. This jelly looks very realistic. And you can see some white spots under the glaze. That's basically the whipped cream that was not properly mixed into the mousse. So I'm going to decorate that and hide it with a husk. Now it's time for the crosscut.